Hello and welcome to this manufacturing management webinar. My name is Paul Fanning and I'm editor of Manufacturing Management. The webinar today is entitled Find Out About RS Purchasing Manager to Save Cost and Time, and it will be I will be joined by Ed Orgill, Head of Value Added Sales Solutions at RS. To give an overview, today we're here to discuss the RS tool Purchasing Manager, how it's cost effective and how it's helping businesses save time and workloads with better efficiency. We will also be touching on RS's inventory solutions and how they're tailored to meet the needs of your business. The four themes we will be discussing are the challenges in procurement and purchasing, the benefits of RS Purchasing Manager, and other value-added solutions offered by RS. Ed will then give an introduction to RS Purchasing Manager and what makes it different. He will talk about its benefits and the difference it is making in customers' lives. Finally, he will be discussing the inventory solutions RS offers before we wrap up the webinar with any questions. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the box on the right-hand side of your screen. So to get started, in today's complex and rapidly changing business landscape, organizations face a multitude of challenges when it comes to procurement and purchasing. However, navigating the intricacies of procurement and purchasing can be a daunting task, as organizations must grapple with various challenges which arise at different stages of the process. So my first question to Ed is, what strategies can be implemented to optimize the procurement process and reduce costs?
Okay, thanks, Paul. So, hi everyone. As Paul said, I head up the value-added solutions sales team at RS. And the main thing that we're focused on as a business, we're dealing with customers that are in a breakdown situation typically and need to get things urgently and very quickly. And quite often the businesses have a procurement to pay cycle that's quite convoluted. And sometimes in some customers we can see it's often quite chaotic. And so one of the main things that we talk to our customers around is around how a digital procurement tool can really help you to streamline that process and can take out some of the unnecessary steps that you get in there. Essentially, what my team and what I'm focused on is how our customers can kind of do what they need to do better and can move their businesses along quickly. And in our world, that's about getting them the parts that they need most quickly.
Okay. What are the best practices for implementing and utilizing procurement software systems to streamline purchasing processes? And what are the potential challenges that you see businesses encounter?
I think those two are linked actually, because I think the biggest thing we see is about the stakeholder engagement. So again, thinking of the world that we operate in, all of the different parts that there are in an industrial environment, and all of the many different suppliers that can feed into that, and often you're dealing with a fragmented supply chain and stakeholders within a business that are used to getting the parts they need from the suppliers they like to work with or the suppliers that they trust. So when you're talking around helping to streamline that process, it's about making sure that you've got all of those different stakeholders aligned and understand the benefits that can be delivered. So from that, commonly we're talking around, it's not just about a procurement solution and a procurement led thing, it's also the end users. So typically that could be engineers or maintenance personnel or sometimes production people. And also people in the finance team as well, who have to deal with the back end of the purchasing cycle in terms of matching up invoices to purchase orders to delivery notes, etc. I think if you look at the screen now, you'll see that purchase to pay process, which looks lovely and pretty and very organized on there in terms of the steps that people have to go through. But in reality, as anyone who worked in an industrial environment know, often it's very chaotic and it's quite disorganized, and it doesn't work like that in practice because something breaks. And the first thing people do is they have to identify what it is that's broken or what it is that they need to replace. They'll look in their own stores, potentially if they've got stores, to see if they can find it. If they can't find it, then they have to try and work with their purchasing team or through contacts they know to find a supplier who can source it for them, and then go through their own kind of procurement governance within their organization. And that's even before they can then place that order. And then when that order comes in and it gets booked in and they've got the parts and they can make the fixing, there's then, as I said, the finance stakeholders at the other end that need to be able to match invoicing to what's been ordered. So the biggest challenge really is about getting all of those stakeholders aligned and making sure that we can all work together as a team to help make the efficiencies that we know these tools can deliver.
Okay. And how can businesses make use of purchasing data to make informed procurement decisions and identify cost-saving opportunities?
So for me, that always comes down to the thing: if you can't measure it, you can't understand it and can't know what value it's giving you. And as I said, quite often you're looking at fragmented supply chains, so lots and lots of suppliers who are supplying lots of different parts into a customer, and it's very difficult to pull all of that data together. So part of the benefits of making your supply chain digital and helping to consolidate that supply chain, if you like, is you can start to pull all of that data together, and that then gives you the insight in terms of who is spending the money, what areas is the money being spent on, what kind of products are being bought, and you can start to make more informed decisions then around like product rationalization, standardization, look at particular areas where you may have higher spend compared to others, and just it helps inform the decision-making processes on those sites to enable you to deliver significant cost savings in other areas as well.
Okay. Let's come to the tool RS has made to ease the procure-to-pay cycle of a customer-to-business journey. RS PurchasingManager is a web-based procurement platform that assists with centralized purchasing without the need for integration and investment. This customizable tool allows you to create procurement process workflows that reflect your organization. It speeds up your procurement processes, providing end-to-end visibility and control of the procure-to-pay cycle. So my question is here, how does it work and what's the cost of it?
So how it works is it works very much like people were using the RS website. So as you say, it's a web-based tool, so it's built on the same platform as the website. So it has all of the benefits that has in that, it's open to all of our customer bases. You can access our complete range. I think the slide showed there of 700,000 plus products through there. When you place an order through it, it's sent digitally, electronically straight to us. So it goes into our system so it can be picked and packed and distributed out to you. And you can pay in whatever way is convenient to you. So be that in terms of either on account or through some kind of like procurement card or something if that's better for you. And you can arrange things like branch collection and click and collect as well. In addition to that, what we do with Purchasing Manager is in the background, we will build out like an approval workflow really to mirror the organization of the customer, so that it allows the end users to build their own requisitions and then to send them through electronically rather than having to pass around pieces of paper around offices or around their environment that they're working in. And those then go through to an approver who can make amendments if they need to, or can put the approval through, and that order will then come through to us. And so it gives that control within there, so that you don't have the maverick spend and you can see what orders are going through. Allows that spend control. You can also put cost centers within there, so that you can allocate, you can see which departments are spending the money, and you can allocate different budgets to that as well, so that it gives you some kind of budgetary control over things like different departments or on different projects and things like that. In terms of a cost, so we don't charge customers for using this. It's a system that we set up, as I say, on the web, so customers don't have to invest in any expensive ERP or MRP systems or anything for themselves. But obviously we're delivering this because we believe, and we've shown and demonstrated that it makes a saving to customers by helping them to consolidate quite a fragmented supply chain. And in doing that, we will help and work with customers to consolidate that supply chain with RS, so that we can deliver greater value to them through their ordering processing. Okay,
and for a company, what are the criteria for its onboarding and implementation?
Well, typically for them in terms of what they're using, so it's using the most up-to-date version of the web browser that they can. We typically say it's like Internet Explorer version 11 or above, and that's around the security protocols, so that obviously there's financial transactions going through the system, so we want to make sure that that's as secure as possible from their end as the data reaches us as well. But other than that, we will scope out and assess customers on an individual basis, just in terms of how their processes are working. And really the criteria is more around, is it going to deliver value to them? And is it going to help them to consolidate that fragmented supply chain? As we keep saying the word fragmented, getting very boring, but it's helping them to consolidate that supply chain with RS and stuff. So we'll scope out individual opportunities as they come in.
Okay. To move on to our next area of discussion, RS commissioned a bespoke survey in partnership with the Institution of Mechanical Engineers to learn more about the challenges that maintenance engineers face and what support they need to keep their industries in motion. With participation from more than 700 UK-based engineers in UK and Ireland, this recently released report gives an in-depth view of the true landscape for maintenance engineers, as well as the opportunities for improvements and risks. The survey results revealed many interesting stats, but key highlights were the challenges procurement engineers may be facing in the next 12 months, such as skill shortages, the lack of women in engineering, and also the high percentage of unplanned downtime in UK and Irish industry because of aging and faulty assets. So, Ed, how can a digital procurement tool help businesses avoid the downtime or minimize its percentage?
So it's about the kind of the efficiency and being able to get stuff that you need quickly. As I said earlier, we're working in a world where it's about our customers need to be producing stuff and have a high utilization of their equipment so that they can keep doing what they're doing. Or in some cases, we deal with mobile engineers who are out on the road and they need to be able to get the parts that they need quickly so that they can fix the customer's problems or the problems of whatever industry they're in that they're trying to resolve. So it's around them being able to find the products, first of all, easily that they need to be able to find, and then being able to get that order processed through their system, and then be working with like a high service distributor who can pick and pack and sort those items quickly and get them sent out to them. And use that mobile engineer example. So there's a particular customer that we work with, and when we first went in to look at their processes, they had about 300 engineers around the country. And they'd typically be visiting like 3 or 4 jobs a day. And then after they have some equipment on their vans, but it's quite a kind of basic spec. And after each of the jobs, they're then calling through to a central office with a list of parts that they need to then be able to go back and complete that job. And speaking with the people in the office, one of the biggest challenges they actually had was that they'd come off those phone calls and they'd then sit there a little bit bewildered thinking, where do I need to go for all of these? Actually, when we're dealing with these suppliers, can we even pay them? Have we got credit terms set up with them? Have we got commercial terms in place? Are they someone that we can trade with and interact with? And in that instance, we were able to roll out PurchasingManager so that the engineers, they'd come off the job or assess the job that they need to do. They'd be able to look through a list and work out what the parts were they needed and to build that requisition basket and then send that through to the office as them to approve. And then get that shipped out to them, sent out to them for the next working day so that they could then have it planned in very effectively in terms of the time to get back and do that job. So when we're talking about that kind of how can you help minimize downtime and break down disruption or delays in completing the work and stuff, that's really what it comes down to, is saving all of those people hours that you get it built into that process and making sure that those jobs could be completed really quickly and that the customer can get on with doing the job that they really want to be doing and delighting their customers, really.
Thanks. There were 5 key themes of the report which outlined the challenges engineers would be facing in the next 12 months. These were monitoring maintenance engineers today, ensuring businesses have the right skills in place, the true cost of breakdowns, collaborating with stakeholders to raise performance, and harnessing technology to improve efficiency. Because of time restrictions, I won't go into detail, but Ed, could you please share how RS is keeping in mind these challenges when dealing with customers? How can you ensure customer satisfaction and handle inquiries or complaints effectively? And are there any specific examples or success stories that you could provide?
Yeah, I think for us, it's that bit you said around the harnessing technology. So like we're a digital business, and when I say that, we're dealing very much in parts that customers need those parts to do what they need to do. But it's about making it as easy as possible for them. So with this, when we talk around purchasing managers, I've talked about, it's that the governance over the ordering process, being able to find the things quickly and get those to them quickly so that they can fix whatever they need to fix or fulfill their obligations to their customers in the way that they need to do. Building on other services as well. It's very much that kind of ecosystem built on that digital platform so that it makes it very easy for people to get the things that they need and to have it where they need it at the right time, either because it's on site where they need it and they can just reach out and get to it, or it's, there's the governance around that supply chain to help them get to it.
Okay. Thanks for the overview of the report themes, Ed. The report will be available at the end of the webinar for everyone to download. As we move ahead to our last topic of discussion, which is the various inventory solutions RS offers. RS works with customers to uncover and understand their challenges and then bring in the solutions that will solve them. The ideology works on understanding the way a customer does things and then recommending them the right solution. So my question is, what are the key features and functionalities of your inventory solution?
So as I just said, it's about that idea of having the right products that the customer needs where they need them at the right time, so that you're not having to route around through your stores to see if it's there, checking on a system that says you've got 10 of something and you look in and the last one's just gone and somebody forgot to order any more in, or having to route through a different supply base, get a number of quotes in and compare them and contrast and see who can get you the thing at the best price in the best lead time and making that decision. All of our solutions are built around this idea of a digital platform powering them in the background. At its simplest, RS ScanStock is an open bin system for low value consumables that is either in a customer stores or line side that they can reach into and get the parts that they need reissued very quickly. RS Vendstock is industrial vending, where you need that level of control and possibly an audit trail or a bit more control because stuff has slightly more intrinsic value. But again, it makes it's there and it's available for people to get without having to go through whatever the order process is for the particular business. And we come onto site on a regular basis to make sure that the product is topped up to the optimal level. I think quite often we see with customers, we use this term in terms of like sprinters, runners, repeaters, and strangers when we're speaking to customers in terms of how they use their product consumption. And it's simply something, sprinter, something they might need to use on a daily basis, a runner, something weekly, a repeater, something monthly, and then the strangers are the things you need less frequently than that, or the ad hoc purchases and that tail end spend that we talked about earlier. And quite often when you're looking at the things on the sprinters, the runners, and the repeaters, it's the cost in terms of people time of managing those orders and managing that stock is exorbitant compared to the cost of what the actual products are themselves. And so we go into some customers and you see that to get around that, they will order huge amounts of product and load their shelves up with it. And then it gets picked over like by locusts almost until someone takes the last one and forgets to tell anybody, and suddenly they're on a rush because they've got to restock everything. Or they're in a kind of hand-to-mouth situation where they can never quite get hold of as much stuff as they need, and that then causes problems downstream because it either delays or stops production of whatever they're doing because they can't get the products they need. So for us, it's all about making sure that you've got the right amount of the things that you need on your shelves. And I talked about breakdowns earlier. Typically, it's that utilization of your plant and your equipment and things that is driving the decisions you're doing in terms of how you're running things and your reliability, and understanding what's critical in terms of your assets and things on site that should drive those decisions about what you need to keep on site and in what levels. And we work with customers to understand what that needs to be, to map out those processes, to work with them around the optimal levels of that stock and help them to build that up into the right kind of levels. And with some of that stock, we can then come onto site and keep it replenished to the right levels for them. And where there isn't the need to hold that as well, we can help customers to reduce those levels of inventory down so that they're not got their working capital tied up in it. Because as a supplier, we will hold the stock on our shelves, but we put in place a robust digital procurement tool that helps customers then to very quickly get it when they need it, and we will take it out to site for them.
Okay, that's great. Can you provide examples of specific industries or sectors that have successfully implemented your solutions?
Yeah, so I talked about the mobile engineers earlier, and that's, there's a number of sectors around that. Utilities is quite common for that, mobile engineers. We've also, I think, like an R&D type environment. So we've got a number of customers that are manufacturers, but they've got quite extensive big R&D departments. And the particular challenge that they were having is that they're doing very small scale production of products to test concepts, and it's not necessarily viable for them to hold all the different types of products that they need to get on their shelves or to deal with suppliers in terms of large minimum order quantities when they're doing that concept trialing thing. So for those customers, Purchasing Manager has been ideal as well in terms of all of the different people working on lots of different projects can build their own requisition baskets and can then pass them through to a central approver. Because when we first went in and started talking to that customer, I think there were lots and lots and lots of pieces of paper being passed around. And then every second Tuesday, someone sat down in the office and worked through them methodically to place those orders on the system and send them off. So it's really helped them to be able to move their projects forward in a much more timely way. And then when we look at kind of the manufacturing side of that and other industrial manufacturing environments, there's that side of it as well, where they can get emergency products that they need to very quickly. But then the more routine consumable items that they're going through on a much more frequent basis, we've been able to implement the managed inventory side of things, either at line side or in certain parts of the stores, just to minimize the disruption that they would normally see, either in that idea of walk and wait time, that they've got to go from where they're actually working to the other side of the plant to be able to get the parts that they need. And then the extra time then to get those orders processed, as we talked about, and actually get goods in. Quite often you speak to people and the processes they've got, they're working within them as well as they can, but sometimes they go through an awful lot of steps and an awful lot of people hours to get the part in, only to realize it's not actually even the right part that they needed. And so they've got to go through all of that process again. So we work really hard with customers at the front end to make sure that we've got everything specced out properly so that we know that it's the right thing in the right place. So as I said, when they need it, they can just reach out and it's there for them.
Okay. And how does your inventory solution support customization and personalization to meet specific business needs and customer requirements?
Well, for us, it's about, we've got a model in terms of how the service operates, but each time we talk to a customer, it's about what's happening in their world. I think, I was reflecting on this recently, actually. I came into sales through a customer service type background. And so that was all about, fixing customer problems, because you've got someone sometimes quite angry on the phone that needs something sorted for them quite quickly. And I moved from there into a sales role. And I've been quite fortunate, I think, in the roles that I've had up to this role, where I've been able to focus on the customer's world and what's going on in their, for them, what their objectives are, and looking at the sales side of it in terms of how we can use that to fix their problems. Sorry, what was your question again, Paul? My mind just went blank then suddenly.
Oh, sorry. It's how did your inventory solution support customization?
Yes,
and personalization?
that was it. So, sorry. So where I was getting to with that was in terms of going into the customer's world and understanding what's happening for them. So for each opportunity that we have to support a customer, for us, it's very important about going in and understanding what the world looks like for them, and walking through that process with them, mapping it out. And then it's almost like a CI approach, really, in terms of looking at how our solutions can best fit together in terms of taking out the unnecessary wasteful steps within their own processes. So if you look at the slide that's on the screen at the moment, it's got that thing I talked around, the sprinters, the runners, the repeaters, and the strangers, and kind of how our solutions kind of fit together around the different product categorizations. Because, we sell an awful lot of products, but typically it's for the customer. It's about how they need to use them and how frequently they need to get them. And then, as we've touched on the steps they have to go through to get to there, in terms of either walking for miles across their site to find what they need, or passing those pieces of paper around and getting various different levels of approval on it. So, we tailor each one to make sure that it's delivering value to that customer. And then once it's there and working for the customer as well, the important thing is that we keep revisiting that and that we keep reviewing it with the customer to make sure that it's still delivering value to them. And as their world changes and as their businesses change, we make sure that we're adapting and constantly supporting them with that too.
Brilliant. Thanks very much for that, Ed. I think let's move on perhaps to some questions now. So let's start with this one, which is, where can I access the Purchasing Manager?
Well, that's really easy one to say. So we can come out and have a conversation with you about that. I think if you go through the RS website, and when you look on that, if you look at the top left of the screen, there's a link to services. And if you go through there, there's some more information about Purchasing Manager, and you can fill out an inquiry form on that and send that into the office. And then someone from my team will get in touch with you around that. So that's not a problem at all.
Okay, and another one is RS Purchasing Manager going to replace my role?
So that's a really interesting one. We get asked that quite a lot, because if you think about what the diagram we saw earlier around that purchase to pay process, and within each of that, there are people, and there are people who have a specific function to do that. And I said, we go into businesses and people are doing the very best that they can with the systems and the things that we've got. It's absolutely not about replacing anybody's role. What it is about taking out the non-value add activities that we all get sucked into within our jobs and stuff, and people being able to concentrate on where they can really add value to their business. So if you think about Purchasing Manager specifically, it's around that, the ad hoc purchasing requirements that are needed, that tail end spend, and all the time that's associated with that in terms of, oh my God, what is it? Do we have it in stock? What suppliers can provide us with this? Who do I need to reach out to? How many quotes do I need to get? How quickly can I get it? And that judgment piece of work that needs to go on, and then trying to make a decision about which is the best value opportunity. For this, it's around someone being able to very simply fill in a requisition basket, live stock availability, live pricing availability, and being able to pass that through to the approver and know that all those steps have been cut out. And so the people are still involved in that decision. It just means that they're able to add more value with the more important parts of their role that they need to do.
Okay, and what about products outside of the catalogue, such as Product Plus?
So we've got an extensive range through our catalogue of like 700,000 plus products. When we need things that are outside of that, then we've got a team at RS that can help to source those for you. At the moment, you can't necessarily purchase those through Purchasing Manager. We have some range of our extended range, which is technically products that we don't hold in stock all of the time, but we work with our suppliers direct to get those sent through. So we can do those. But it's about having that blended kind of omni-channel approach. So we cover the vast majority of requirements through our range through Purchasing Manager. If there's things that are outside of that range that are required on an ad hoc basis, then that's more of a conversation with one of our sales team who can help source that for you. If they're required on a more regular basis, then that's something that we can look at through our other solutions, either through putting it on site for you through one of our vendor managed inventory, or using our branch network to hold those products for you as well, so that if you need them, you can still get them very easily.
Okay. And how will this save time to my back end processes, as I will still need to match up every invoice to each delivery?
So when we talk to customers about Purchasing Manager, one of the key things we work with them around is around this idea of blanket purchase order. So quite often these are low value purchases. It's that ad hoc tail end spend. And as we map out the processes that people are currently going through, it's very easy to see, there's that SIPS figure of somewhere between £80 and £100 per order that it costs people to raise each and every order. And sometimes you're dealing with quite low value items that the cost of going through that process can often be like twice the cost of the actual product itself. And part of that is around then the matching up the quotes and the delivery notes and the invoice. So we talk around a blanket purchase order and combining that then with a consolidated monthly invoice summary, so that there's a purchase order with an annualized value on it on the one end, and then there's a consolidated summary of the invoices on the other side. So rather than someone from a finance perspective, each and every time something comes in having to match it up, it's a much more simple task then to use the data that's in Purchasing Manager if they need to corroborate things, but they've got that consolidated summary that shows everything that's been ordered against the blanket purchase order, and it's a much more easy checking process there. We map that out with customers, and we kind of demonstrate, and part of the revisiting bit that we do as well is to make sure that we're touching all of those different stakeholders, or reaching out to all those different stakeholders within the business to make sure that they're still seeing the benefit of that, and where we need to make any changes and things we can do.
Brilliant. Next one is we have we have 3 tiers of approval on site. Can the system support this?
Yeah, so we can build in different levels of approval. What we would probably do in those circumstances is try and work with the customer to understand why they've got all those levels of approval, because that's where you've got the steps that add time into that process. And so when we map out that customer's process and go through and show them all the different stages they're doing and the cost in terms of people hours that's associated with that as well, then we might ask questions. And I think all of my team, including myself, we've been into customers where sometimes you go in and the directors have to sign off on things like pens and stuff, just because that's the way they've done it. And when you can unpick that, you can see the reasons behind that. But yeah, if that's the way the customer wants to go, then we'll build out that workflow to mirror how they want to work and operate.
Okay. On a slightly more basic level, can we add and remove users?
Yeah, so the system is designed to be self-service, so people can be set up with administrator rights, and that's a really good way of managing it in-house. It's very simple then for someone to, as people leave the business or as people move roles, as new people join a business, being able to just add them in very simply into that structure, rather than having to wait, I guess, for like a review process and someone to come in and having to map out all of those personnel again. So yeah, it's built with that functionality in there so that it can be constantly reflecting, how the organisation is set up.
And on that note, can we set spend limits for different users?
Yeah, so within that structure, you can set the spend limit around what the users can spend, either at a transaction level or on a monthly level. And you can put other budgetary controls in there as well around things like different projects and stuff like that, so that people can, when they log onto the system, say it's like the website, so they'll just put in their username and their password. The difference that they'll notice from the normal RS website is there's a piece on the screen that actually tells them, what their approval levels are, if they've got a budget allocated to them, how much budget is left within that as well.
Okay. Unfortunately, time is drawing near to have to bring this to a close. Firstly, I'd just like to thank Ed Orgill from RS Group for helping to bring this discussion to life today and for sharing his expertise in response to the findings of the recent Industry in Motion report. So in summary, RS Purchasing Manager is an ideal customizable tool if you don't have in-house e-procurement systems. There's no cost or investment involved, and you don't need to upgrade your IT systems. So Ed has given us great insight and understanding into what it is and what it can do for you. And on that note, I'd really just like to thank Ed and to thank all of you for joining us today. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Paul.